Hi, I'm Dr. Gemma, and welcome back to Cognitive, the Knitting Psychology podcast. Cheerfully and somewhat irregularly in business since 2008. Segments today may include what's on my hooks, needles, and spindles, a strategy, something I really like, put a lid on it, oh shoot, and blather. So sit back, put your feet up, pick up your knitting, crocheting, spinning, weaving, or dyeing, or any other yarny thing you're doing, and get ready to enjoy. Well, hello there, it's Dr. Gemma, and this is episode 235 of the Cognitive Podcast. And we have got a rip snorter for you today. This one is probably going to be titled Sheer Joy because it's just been that kind of a week. I'm recording this on Wednesday morning, 9:30 a.m. on May 28th, 2025. So let me tell you first that your comments are very welcome. You can comment on the blog at cognitivepodcast.blogspot.com, or you can go to our group on Ravelry. And let me also advise you, I'm getting spammed by robo accounts. It's been kind of entertaining. So I'm not adding any followers. If you're listening to me, you follow me in those two places above, the blog or the Ravelry group. Here in the Warm Thanks department, I want to just quote Chris who said, I keep meaning to recommend the Pink Carnation series by Lauren Willig. It's a spy/romance series set in Regency England and Europe, mostly France. Some of them have some smut. That's her word, not mine, kids. But not all. The first one I read is The Mischief of the Mistletoe, which is not the first one in this series, Chris tells us, but it is a really good standalone novel. And this features Jane Austen as a character. Chris says, the author has clearly done her research, and it's written in a good style. It also has a crossover moment or two, I gather, with The Scarlet Pimpernel. If you have not read The Scarlet Pimpernel by Baroness Orczy, please go read it. You are cheating yourself of a lot of fun. At any rate, I put the links to all of these in the show notes. I went and looked them up. They look very intriguing, so I'm looking forward to digging into that series. Meanwhile, do you see Elaine knit? Ooh, you sneaky little enabler, sending me sales information on Malabrigo Rios. Oh, I'm sitting here in a cold sweat thinking about this. That is so unfair. Right now, what's my Rios count? I have, I think, 4 vests waiting to be made in Rios. We've got Cerezza, we've got Almond Blossom, we've got Wales Road, and I know I have a good scrap vest coming from all the leftover Rios in green tones. I just found another possibility this morning, and I know I have not named all the possibilities. Oh, DC Elaine Knits. I also want to thank Elaine because I just saw this last night, so it's a little bit of a late entry here. She did one big final burst of bears for Mother Bear, which, as you know, our charity is closing down after years of insanely dedicated service by Amy Berman, who runs it. And I cannot thank you enough. And Elaine chose to do her last bears as a tribute to the people she sees as involved with it. So, of course, she did a bear for Amy as her final bear. And she also did them for the 2 Knit Lit chicks. And yes, there's a Dr. Gemma bear. It's so cute. Thank you, Elaine. Just when I think I've hit the high point of my career, being translated into a fungus by Amy, of Amy Storm fame, I find out I've also been made into a bear by Elaine. Wow, girls, thank you. I'm so honored. Now I have to decide, fungus, bear, bear, fungus bear. Anyway, thank you so much to both of you. Again, I'm so honored. And meanwhile, speaking of Amy Storm, I want to thank you for admiring my son in his prom duds. He had a wonderful time indeed. He said it was great for his social anxiety, and he feels really confident now. This also coincides with he's had his job, which was a limited term thing, and ended this past weekend. So he had the blues about that. But on his job, it was the best exposure therapy I could have asked for between the prom and the job. You can see it at the prom, that he's with his gang of buddies, and they all hung out together, and they all had a great, great time. And then on the job, he had to deal with people at the petting zoo. And the way they do that is they have the kids who are running the zoo talk about the animals and show people what they can do, like how to feed them, where to get the food, how to handle the animals. My son learned the invaluable lesson that a lot of social anxiety comes from feeling out of context in a situation. And the joy of that job was it taught him, put yourself into a context. Pick up an object of mutual interest, like a bunny rabbit, and talk about the object. And so he has just blossomed in his ability to talk to people when he wants. He does not often want. That he is not a talker by nature. I think after 19 years of living with my husband and I, who have just run him over with floods of words, he probably cherishes silence. But we are just extremely happy and extremely grateful right now. And I'm going to come back to that again. Meanwhile, though, since we're in the warm thanks, I want to thank my communities, of course, here in this group. Y'all mean so much to me. On the ground in the SCV, on Reddit, and on Finch. Finch people, I can't identify you all where you're coming from. If you're coming from this listenership or if you're coming from the Finch group on Reddit. So if I don't do a call out to you, I apologize right here, but I just want to thank you if you've joined my friends group over on Finch. The more diamonds, the more clothes for Gemma, the more adorable little decorations for my birdhouse. What can I say? So I also want to thank the inimitably talented N30 Nix for her latest ferret. That's me as a ferret making fried eggs. You may notice as I make it that I've got a roll, some flowers, some radishes, and it looks like maple syrup next to me. There's also flowers. I have a very decorated pan. It looks like there's flowers painted inside the pan. I'm obviously a ferret of good taste. Thank you, N30 Nix, for that. If you are listening to this episode, by the way, and you want to hear a review of a yarn shop, we are reviewing the Altered Stitch, the new Altered Stitch in this one. So if that's what you're here for, stick around. That's going to be at the end of the episode. Meanwhile, Cognitive Fiber Retreat 11 is scheduled for October 11th, so mark your calendars. Hey, Gemma, what's on your hooks and needles? By the way, are you wondering if I've had coffee in the last hour? I have. What made you think that? All right. Well, I finished the Novice Slipover in Malabrigo Rios Water Green. It is fitted the way it is supposed to be fitted based on the pattern. Now, I made this before, you may remember, in my own hand spun, and this fit worked great. I feel like in Rios, it came out an inch or two short. It's okay, I can certainly wear it. And it certainly covers the waistband of my skirts and all that, so that's all fine. But I like my vest to drape down a little more over my hips. So I may go back and pull the last row and start a new skein and just, well, actually I have leftovers from the old skein, and add a couple inches. I'm debating it. Or I may just say, this is great, I've got so much yarn, why don't I make the other ones I have on my queue? And if you go into Ravelry, you will see that I'm queuing up a lot of stuff for sweatering season next year. Should be very, very exciting. I just have so much Malabrigo. That is not a complaint. And Elaine, don't you start telling me about sales again. That was just cold-hearted. No, it wasn't. I really appreciate it. I'm joking with you. But let me roll on here. I'm happy to have that finished and off the needles. I'm trying to finish the Blue Iris Blueberry Waffle sock. I'm on the toe, and that will be followed by the heel, which is an afterthought heel, which is what I do because they fit me so well. And I can just do them off the top of my head because it's the same as my toe, let's be honest. So hopefully we're going to finish that soon. I thought I'd have it finished by today, but I haven't even picked it up because I got sucked into, well, I'll get back to that. Meanwhile, no work on the Virgo sweater, the 10 square bag, the Lakeside cardigan, or the September sweater, but the September sweater, which is crocheted, is looking likely to be my next train project because it comes in pieces, and I've got a ton of that yarn, so if I lose any of it on a train, I still can go ahead and make the sweater probably, and I really want to get that extremely old yarn out of my stash. That's got to be from the early 2000s, like 2009 or something, from one of my first visits to Stitches West with those heartless enablers, the Knitmore girls. Just a little call out since I'm feeling great today. No work on the quilt squares or the new t-shirts for the quilt, and I'll come back to those. They need to be trimmed. Essentially, when I'm doing quilt squares, I like to spend a lot of time trimming down my fabrics and materials. So I cut my t-shirts in half, going up the side seams and across the shoulder seams, so there's a front and a back. And the ones I'm not going to use become rags around the house, and the others get saved in a special bin for that purpose. And also when I have leftover fabric, that tends to get trimmed down as fast as I can into 2.5-inch strips, and that goes into my strips bin. So there are the sources of my quilts. As you can tell, I am a dedicated scrap quilter. There are things I get, like if I get a fat quarter that I really like, that I do not strip, that I leave as a quarter so that I can make it into applique shapes. But I will come back to that hopefully when the weather warms up and it's too hot to do sweatering. I'm hoping I will get back to the quilt I'm currently working on because I've got a lot of it. I've got like 65 squares out of 100. So hopefully we're going to get back to that. Meanwhile, in Dizzy Blondes, in the spinning world, I am still spinning slowly on my second braid of the camel hair silk. You've heard a lot about this. You know, this is interesting because the silk took up the dye. The camel hair did not. Or she did not even try to dye the camel hair. She blended them after she dyed the silk. I'm not sure which, but it comes out this kind of yellowy brown, more brown than yellow, and that's the camel hair. And then there's a kumquat dye on the silk and purple dye on the silk. And I am going to eventually spin up the kumquat BFL I have from Lisa Souza, and they will ply against each other. So that's a summer project. I'm going very slow because the camel hair irritates my sinuses. And yes, this week my seasonal allergies did return. Yay for old friends coming home. That's probably why I sound scratchy. Anyway, we're getting close to the end of spinning season for another summer, is what I'm saying. So I may be packing up my fibers into the closet of doom. That's the walk-in closet of doom for those of you who like to keep your closets of doom carefully sorted in your mind. But I'm doing all of this on the electric eel wheel 6.1. Let's get on to a strategy, shall we? Today I want to talk about emergencies. And I want to talk about managing yourself in an emergency because I'm getting a lot of that now in therapy. I don't think it is an accident that this coincides with major government actions at this time. And I'm not going to dip into the politics. At this point, if you're a listener, you know my politics. And if you don't like them, please leave. I'm just going to say it right now. Please leave. I'm not going to try and change them or alter them for you. Just take a hike. And I'm not going to go there. At this point, I think we're all pretty much able to cope. People who are listening, okay? At any rate, lot of panic, lot of emergencies in my therapy. And let's talk about what that really is. First of all, I'm talking clinically, not in everyday street talk, okay? So I'm going to make clear, when I say an emergency, I mean life or death, okay? When you have an emergency, you call 911. The first rule of an emergency is unchanging. It is get help. We are never alone in an emergency. If you think you can't handle it, you get help. And I'm a therapist by day. I'm a psychologist professionally, but I'm functioning as a psychotherapist most of the time right now. I'm not doing a lot of the heavier duty stuff that is associated with my profession. Okay, so Before you call your therapist, if this is life-threatening, you don't call your therapist. You call 911, you go to an ER, or you go to an urgent care. If you think this is life-threatening, frankly, I'm going to say an ER, because if they agree with you, you're going to get seen right away. Urgent care, heaven only knows. Having said that, most of what I get is people text me at some insane hour and say, this is a crisis, or I have an emergency. And it is, they're arguing with their partner and they feel helpless and lost and don't know what to do. Technically speaking, I'd say, yeah, that feels like a crisis. It's not life-threatening. If it is, get out of the house and take the kids, okay? But again, I don't think I've got anybody like that currently. I've certainly dealt with it in my career fairly routinely. You'd be surprised. Okay, so if you're having a crisis, let's go through what you actually do. First thing is you get air. Anxiety, fear, fight or flight. These are all basically the same physiological state in your body. You're having this feeling because you're going into fight or flight. Because our bodies were developed only to do that. To do that and to stay alive. That's what we do. Okay? So the human body can't handle complicated emotions. It simply says, I am not in fight or flight. I am in fight or flight. If I have a complex situation, I'm either going to punch at it or run from it. Those are our only body choices. So when your brain says we have a crisis, your body can only choose that. Okay, get it through your head that managing painful feelings is managing that. How do you stop that? Well, can we all agree before we go there that you'll do much better if you can think your way through a problem? Can we all agree on that? Okay, so that's really your goal. I'm going into fight or flight. My heart is racing. I may feel nauseous. My heart may be pounding. My hands are sweating. I am shaky. I have chest pain. There is chest pain that is on the outside of the chest, and then there's heart attack. It's extremely unlikely you're going to have a heart attack. Okay, so most chest pain is not a heart attack, but I will say that's a 911 call. If you really feel disabled, you do a 911 call. Got to be clear on that. Otherwise, okay, I'm having these symptoms. That is your body fighting you, trying to go into fight or flight, and you are resisting. So your body is giving you all the behaviors that go with fight or flight. You're shaking, your heart is racing because you're trying to run. Or you're nerving yourself up to punch somebody. Okay, that's what's going on. You have a flood of corticosteroids. Those are hormones racing through your bloodstream. They're toxic. You need to get rid of them. That's why your hands are sweating, because you sweat them out. Or that might be why you start crying, because you can cry them off. You might need a bathroom. You can pee them off. Okay, you've heard all this before. So I'm just going to say, get air. The way you stop the problem as fast as you can, you must get air. The other thing you do is get safe. So if you're arguing with your partner and you're going into fight or flight, get away from your partner. Say it. Just say, you're allowed to tell the truth. Just say, I am getting too upset. I need to take a break, and I'll be back. In the perfect world, you say, I'll be back in 15 minutes or something. You don't just abandon. You tell them what you're doing. But you get off the scene and you get air. Okay, so get safe, get air. Which one of those do you do first, Gemma? Well, technically you should get safe first. However, until you get air, you're probably not going to be able to think about how to get safe. Okay? Here is a thing that is not safe. Hitting someone. Okay, if you're going into fight or flight, it isn't safe to hit. Okay? Try to remember that. I know most of you wouldn't, but remember, you may be telling your children and other loved ones that you heard this from me. Okay? Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying de-escalate yourself. Get air, get safety. Tricks to get air, drink. Drink something cool without caffeine. Herbal iced tea, ice water, drink. Don't drink caffeine. Caffeine accelerates panic and brings on fight or flight. No caffeine when you're like this, and you will crave it if you're a caffeine drinker. Other things you'll crave, sugar, no brown soda. No brown soda, no sugary soda. Stay away from Mountain Dew. White lightning. Okay. So that's the immediate thing. Now, the thing that most people miss is you realize this is not a technical emergency. This is not life or death. Just because you feel lousy and you don't like the way your body feels, it is not an emergency. Really, try to repeat that till it makes sense. What is your best course of action? Well, when you have a problem, you can probably sing this with me after so many years of me saying it here. When you have a problem, make a plan. And the beautiful thing about a plan, keep it in your head. Don't show it to anybody. You can always change it. That's what I'm saying. Make a plan. So when you can, you sit down and you say, what should I do? And make your plan detailed. Remember the worry workbook. You can always use your worry workbook. Sit down and say, I should call this person when? Immediately. Where's their number? Make notes. What is all the information I need for this plan? Okay, make your plan. The other important thing, if you can, and this is where it gets really important, and this is so overlooked, if you can, sleep on it. Humans solve problems in their sleep. Or meditate. Now, meditate, I don't mean meditate on the problem. I mean empty your mind, focus on something totally different. A candle flame, your breathing, a mantra, the sound of chanting, whatever. Just let yourself meditate for at least 10 minutes. Why? My experience of that is after 5 minutes, whether I want it or not, I start getting answers to all sorts of situations in my life. I may not even be aware I'm thinking of them as problems. So sometimes if you just empty yourself and focus on one thing that is neutral, that is not about your problem, the answer will assemble in the back of your brain. Get it through your head that you rely on your frontal and prefrontal lobes, this kind of slice of bread of brain material in the front of your face and head. You rely on that. That's the part of me that is talking to you right now. And you think that's where all your decisions come from. That's a typical human attitude. Turns out, the midsection of your brain and possibly the base of your brain also solve problems. They can't speak a human language. They do it symbolically or chemically. So when you start to meditate, the base of your brain begins to regulate your heartbeat. It's solving the first problem of panic for you. Okay? Your brain wants to help. It's a computer in your head that is programmed to help your conscious mind solve issues. And it works in a lot of ways we don't understand still. Okay, the midsection of your brain contains symbolic knowledge and your symbolic system. You have an individual set of symbols that I don't share with you. Okay, that most people don't share. We all have our own symbols of things. Okay, that part can help you too. When you are asleep, you turn off that bread slice in the front, and those parts start working on it. When you meditate, the same thing happens. Why do you think I run every day? I'm going to access any solutions I can get. So the important thing is we have even enshrined this in many cultures as some kind of wise saying. If you have a problem, sleep on it. In Shakespeare's time, they would have said, morning dreams are true. That is, you'll dream of your answer probably close to the time you wake up in the morning. Turns out research shows that's quite accurate. Okay, so the important thing about emergencies is, well, when I say emergency, non-life-threatening emergencies, is slow down, restore yourself, don't allow the panic, cut it off, give it air, keep yourself safe, make a plan, use your resources like your worry workbook, and your sleep and meditation skills. Give yourself time. Learn that not every uncomfortable feeling constitutes a crisis or an emergency, and it doesn't require panic. People often think now that they have to have a mental health diagnosis to deserve or explain getting help. No, no, no. But I would tell you it is good to know how to manage this stuff yourself, particularly if you're responsible for the lives of others in your household, like your kids. Having said all this, shall we do green fingers? Yes, let's. Nothing new here. I'm just basically planting. It's getting a little tough. I've got a lot more plants than I probably needed, and I have to catch up on some of my weeding. But the Texas salvia and the Russian sage seem very happy in their 7-inch pots. They're flowering, in fact. It's kind of nice. The creeping thyme, in and out. Some of it's doing great. It told me it was full sunshine, which I doubted. I was right to doubt. But the stuff that gets more shade is doing really well. Ah, shoot. You know you wanted to hear about my first race of the season. I know you wanted to hear about it. Yeah. I went and I ran the Forever Brave 5K on Sunday morning, early. I wasn't prepared for a race. One of my cardinal rules is don't run if you're not prepared. Yeah, well, only 3 miles. I broke that rule. But I really ran it well. I ran it in 10-minute intervals, and it went very well. It was easily completed. I was very pleased at the end of it. It was a little bit of a shove for me. I didn't quite feel up to it, but I did it quite well. The time was okay, considering I'm not in shape for a full 3-mile run. And I am stiff as a board and have been working on recovery for the last 72 hours. And I'm finally seeing the light at the end of that tunnel. It was just very nice. There's a group of us that are regulars. A Better World Running put this one on. They donate to charity with their take. They do not give t-shirts. They give medals. And frankly, I wish they'd give that up and just give those to charity as well, or give the money. But one of the nice things, they've started selling merchandise. And I got there and they were selling the merchandise, and, I'd seen it on their website and said, no, it's nice, but no. And they said, oh, we know you. You've been running with us for years. Quite true. I've been running with them since they started, in fact. So they gave me a free t-shirt. I didn't even have to beg or look soulful. They just gave it to me. Now, I have a policy of every race I get a t-shirt. Usually I don't get a shirt with their races, so I just order a cheap one on sale on T-Turtle. But I got a t-shirt out of this. You know what that means? It means I can't wear the other new t-shirts I bought to reward myself till I run my next t-shirt free race. I know, but it gives me something to live for. Meanwhile, you might be saying, but Gemma, what did you do on Saturday? I just took it easy because I knew I was stoking up for the race. I took the train down to Glendale. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, except I knew no yarn stores. I got started too late on Saturday morning, and I really was feeling burned out on the yarn crawling after last weekend's wild successes and a splurge of spending. So, by the way, I should mention that I did not say, in case you're wondering, when I finished the slip over, the vest, that did take 4 more skeins out of my stash toss. So I'm happy to tell you that's at 56 skeins in and 24 out, but no new yarn. So I just went down to the Galleria, and that led to me purchasing another set of AirPods because I'm so in love with them, and I'll just come back to that. In the meantime, I just had a lovely day, and Monday was dedicated to buying a new dryer because we made the mistake. We discussed my son's graduation present in front of the major appliances, and you know what those spiteful little jerks do. If you ever discuss any kind of travel or plan to spend money, one of them just commits suicide right in front of you. The dryer did it. So we had to go replace our dryer. It's coming tomorrow, Thursday. And otherwise, it just really didn't make much of a hiccup in our lives. So, Monday was about just going out and celebrating. And also, I got up Monday morning and I had to laugh. My husband had pulled the refrigerator or freezer out from the wall. And I don't think we've done that since we bought it, which is probably something like 16 years ago. And so I did spend a considerable amount of time just cleaning out that space. And it was a team effort. He pulled it out. I brushed it down with a broom and swept it out. They did a layer of scrubbing. I did a layer of scrubbing. Like anytime someone went through the kitchen, we worked on that. My husband took everything off the fridge because we collect magnets and memorabilia, and he scrubbed down the outside. It was really great. And I walk in the kitchen now without sneezing. So that was my weekend. But yeah, shoot, I am running again, and it feels glorious. And the next run, of course, is the Sugar Daddy coming up on June 14th in the Fluffy Books. Well, I'm listening to Georgette Heyer's The Transformation of Philip Jatan. This is pretty universally hated by readers because of a very misogynistic speech that Heyer puts into the mouth of a allegedly trustworthy female character near the end of the book. She republished it a year later without the last chapter. I haven't gotten to that, so I'm wondering what she took out there. I don't think it was the speech. Readers tend to just hate this book. I think hating it is missing the point of it, which is, you can tell by the title, it's always going to be a bit of a joke. Philip, the title character, he transforms himself from a country squire who's a little bit coarse into a polished courtier of the London court of the late 18th century, which means heavily French influenced, and could be a fop. He makes himself kind of foppish. And his girlfriend, of course, transforms because she's taken in by a flirt in the beginning of the book who's doing all that. And she realizes this is not what she wants from him, and she does eventually want to marry him. So those are the transformations. And Hare is relatively inexperienced when she writes the book. So she writes this really good theme, but in terms of the discussion of the characters, she undercuts herself by making this character talk about how women want to be mastered. And that's not what's going on, but the female lead does want the male lead to revert to himself. And she does see that as evidenced by him talking the way he would have talked to her when he was less foppish, which would mean he'd tell her off for being shallow. And Hare doesn't have the skills when she writes this to get that fine point across. She does go there eventually. I mean, you can't be the person who wrote the Grand Sophie and say that you're that unskilled. But again, she develops as an author. So this one's early in her career. I'd say brace yourself. I'm kind of glad to have pushed through it. By the way, it's republished as Powder and Patch. That is the version without the last chapter. I finished reading Beauvalet. I just found it predictable from beginning to end. I just saw her forward to it in one old edition. She writes to a friend and she says, "You and me both like writing in this old medieval style." And she clearly believes that's what she's doing. She should read a few more medieval texts. They're not quite this way. Of course, Tolkien does the same thing. So, it's not like I can blame that on Hare. Anyway, it explains a lot of Beauvalet, but the plot is fairly predictable from beginning to end. And, it's a nice read. I wouldn't say it was one of my favorite books. I am also listening to a book called My Lady Jane. It is morbidly funny. It is a retelling with magic of the tragic and sadly true story of Lady Jane Grey, who was queen for 9 days in the midst of the Tudor nightmare that preceded Elizabeth I. It is funny. It's hard for me to take. I've always considered Lady Jane's story so painfully tragic, and it's hard to hear it retold and know that this could never have happened. I always wonder what she would think of it, but all right. I ain't going to go there. Too much tragedy for a podcast about joy. Speaking of joy, something I really like, my emotional support chicken. I have to admit it, I can't wait to make another one. I was going to go down on the long weekend and buy another one all the way down to Knitting Tree LA, and then said, why? I've got so much scrap yarn. And then realized I have all this sock yarn that needs to go away. Wouldn't it be fun to try one? So I am. And that has slowly made it into my notes on Ravelry. It hasn't made it into my show notes yet. It'll probably be there next week. This is one of those do one piece a night because it does take concentration. And it looks stunning in that beautiful orangella that Chris dyed for me. Oh, does it look pretty? I'm working on the tail right now. Meanwhile, I also like the AirPods. As I told you, I bought another pair. Why did I do this? Because I was wearing my Pros, the 2 Pros, which I just love. And I was wearing them on the train and thinking, this is too much risk. These are too expensive. If I lose one on the train, it's really gone. That's not good. I thought I should get a cheaper set. But I thought, nah. Then I got off the train and I took one out and was shocked at the difference. The noise cancellation was making such a big difference. And I thought, good heavens, I'm 64. I should be protecting my hearing. And I marched over to the Apple store and bought not the Pros, didn't buy another set of the Pros. I bought I think these are the 4s, and they have noise cancellation, the adaptive cancellation. These are pretty similar to the 2 Pros. I would recommend them. I don't think you need the 2 Pros in most situations. I'm going there because I want to experiment with the hearing test part, which I haven't yet, but sooner or later I will. But I have to tell you, I am in love with the AirPods. Yes, I bought a carrying case for them, and they are hanging well down into my bag. So if they drop out, they drop into my bag. I'm doing all the care. And so I have the traveling set, and I have the set that live at home that I use to talk to my patients. Meanwhile, I continue with the back episodes on Proton. Again, this month I'm carrying episodes 58 to 100 of the original podcast from years ago. I will keep rotating through these every month, I hope, and I will bring it up to date on the current series of the podcast, and then I will start over if you miss any of these. I don't have the room anywhere else to do this, so this is why they're all on Proton. They're zipped, very easy. Your computer will know how to fix that. In the blather, well, my son continues as the chorus line guy in The Music Man. They did headshots, I haven't seen that yet, in costume. I'm really looking forward to it. But his graduation is coming. And I have to tell you, for the first time today, I saw the formal picture of him in his cap and gown. I have to tell you something. This is the 3rd time in my life I have cried for sheer joy. In case you're wondering, the first time was the day I found out I was pregnant. And that was kind of painful crying because I was so exhausted by everything we'd gone through to get pregnant. And I'd had all sorts of problems with doctors, all sorts of stuff. The second time, and it's the single most unalloyed joy I have ever felt, was the day he was born. When they took him out of me, I don't even remember starting to cry. I just realized as they were holding him up to show me that both sides of my face, I was lying on my back for a C-section, both sides of my face were streaming water. And I realized the doctors were so happy, and the doctors were having a hard time looking at me because I was so unabashedly happy. And this was that kind of crying. I saw him in his cap and gown. I saw my son as an educated young man. I can't even begin to describe my pride. We've been through so much. This is the kid who could not talk till he was 7 years old. He is graduating at the top of his class. He has offers from colleges. My husband's alma mater, the University of Minnesota, took him hands down first time around. He didn't really apply anywhere else. He's going to do the 2 years of community college full-time that we get free in California. This is a great dry run to see how he adjusts to the college life. So we will be there with him all the way. There's no reason to believe he can't do it. Whether he wants to at this time in his life is another question. One of the things I adore about him, he is mature, he is incredibly hardworking, he is kind, and he is decent. And he may not be ready to give his whole life over to that kind of studying at this time. That's okay. We'll work at that. But right now, we're going to try to take advantage of that because we can. That will keep us in California for at least 2 more years and keep me on the job. I have to tell you, sheer joy. There is no better feeling in the world. I am so proud of him. And I am so grateful to my husband for being the most incredible father I have ever met. I have never seen so much pure devotion between father and son, and they have a wonderful relationship. If I have achieved anything in this life, this was it. You heard it here. Oh, the boycotts, yes. I know in a minute I'm going to start crying. You can hear it, right? Yeah. The boycotts, we're going on with that. We're keeping the faith. I want you to know we're still posting the hotline the Canadian government set up for gay, trans people. This is a gift from the people of Canada who don't believe that being gay or trans means you deserve some kind of death sentence. So this is a hotline for suicide and troubled people since so many have closed down in America. Meanwhile, you can see all the community resources, my usual links to those that I know painfully need to be updated, but please, I need a vacation. You can see my calendar of events that are going on in the Santa Clarita Valley. You can see my own schedule, including the fact I have the week that I think starts June 28th off, and my next race, June 14th, the Sugar Daddy. Alrighty, CFR 11 is on the list. Hopefully on my vacation I'll sit down and work out the details there. Minerva gets the last word. This isn't true. The new Altered Stitch, their interview, gets the last word, but still, Minerva wants to show you a picture of us having a quiet morning, because we don't get those at this time of year, because yours truly has to get out the door before the sun gets intense to do her workout. And there is Minerva enjoying that, lying on the bed, which you may notice I've already stripped to do the laundry. That was Saturday morning. But she's lying there being a meatloaf of joy next to my bare legs, which are clad in my running shorts, but I haven't gotten to the socks yet. And Minerva would like you to know that you should enjoy the quiet anytime you can get it, however you get it, including things like getting out into nature, reducing your social media footprint, and all that. Having said all that, let me now leave you with the interview with the owner, Vanessa, the amazing Vanessa, of the new Altered Stitch. The show notes is full of pictures of the Altered Stitch. She's done a job that is just incredibly good. I cannot believe she got it together in time for the yarn crawl. I'm looking forward to going back there. It has dawned on me that is, right now, my local yarn shop. That's the closest yarn shop to me. I couldn't have picked a better one, and we are rooting for you, Altered Stitch. We're so grateful that you bought the business, Vanessa, and that you're going to continue a grand tradition. So on that happy note, everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
So what
Unbelievably, I have Vanessa, the new owner of the Altered Stitch, and the story here is unbelievable. They closed it down because landlords were jerks. Oops, I didn't say that, did I? And now they've opened it up. What? How many weeks did you have to do this?
So they stopped selling on the 27th, and I had...
Oh my God.
So what is that, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks?
Yeah, at most it's 3 weeks, but
Yeah.
that's not counting like just transporting and setting up.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
Can I do I think there's...
Oh, okay. Okay, so we have a little bit of a pause there because the place is packed. I'm so amazed. So, okay, how did you do this? How did you move it this fast and get it? It looks great. It's beautifully decorated. How did you do this?
Thank you. I did it with a lot of long, sleepless nights and all-nighters. My boyfriend was a huge help. It was him and I pretty much doing everything after hours at 10 p.m. because he works and has school until 10.
Oh my God.
So yes, we were here until 5 in the morning, sometimes all night, but we got it done, and luckily everyone has been so helpful, and they came and helped when they could and were able to, but we just were really trying to get it done at least by the first day of Yarn Crawl, and we did it.
And the amazing thing too is, considering you've had no time, the internet presence is pretty good. Like, I found the correct address. I just Googled the Altered Stitch. Now, if you go to the old blog and all that, that's not yet updated. I think on Facebook they say there's a new owner. So, if you're listening to this and you're trying to find the Altered Stitch, the new address is
6740 Balboa Boulevard in Lake Balboa, California, 91406.
And they're kind of behind a Jack in the Box, and you have to drive in because there's a thing called DJ Stitch that is not them.
Yeah, not
in
us.
the front. Yeah, don't fall for the stitch. It's probably some evil sewing conspiracy. So this is good. What kind of things do you feature? What do you want the listeners to know about your just downright wonderful store?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I definitely still want to keep the heart of Altered Stitch alive and still have it feel like a community and a family to everyone. We're going to have open stitch nights, maybe also do some sip and stitch, and then the one where they go to the baseball. So still bring some of those events back. We're going to have different varieties of yarns, and we're going to, showcase different dyers with trunk shows, and even artists who want to maybe show some of their ceramic pieces or art pieces or, decorative bags. Just kind of a little bit of everything, but really the main thing is just to have a place where everyone feels welcomed and a sense of community.
Okay, and I have to say this, I got distracted while you were talking because I'm standing next to a rack of very generous crochet supplies, because I want to say this isn't just we sell a set of hooks. This is we have different sizes, that obviously you're crochet friendly, and worse than that, there's a spinning wheel behind Vanessa. It looks like a production wheel, but I don't know who the company is.
This one was a spinning wheel that came with the previous location, and we are going to do a spinning class in the upcoming months, so people can learn how to spin here as well if they are interested.
Ooh, and there's yarn bowls. I mean, I'm just sort of seeing, the longer I stand here, the better it gets. There's honeybee bags, which look like lovely project bags. I mean, really, I can't believe what you've got stuffed in here. This is not the biggest space. It looks like you've really filled it very, very thoughtfully and in a very clever way. There's just a lot of stuff in here.
Yes, thank you for that. We really try to still have it feel full and vibrant and colorful and welcoming, but also still have enough space for people to get around and, just sit and knit and not have to be bumped, and bumping into each other. So we did the best we can, so I hope you guys like it as much as we do.
No, I'm terribly, terribly impressed. How has your LA yarn crawl been?
It has been busy. It has been really great, busy. Everyone has been so supportive and understanding, because I am still, I just started. This is my first yarn crawl, so there was a little bit of hiccups here and there. So thank you for everyone for being patient with me. But the yarn community is so strong, and that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to, be involved and take over the shop, is for all of you guys, because you guys are just so lovely and so sweet and understanding, and I just love you all.
And by first yarn crawl, Vanessa means it's her first month in business.
Yes. First day.
Talk about an overwhelming way to start. But congratulations. Oh my God. Sorry, I'm looking at beautiful pens with beads on them. Stop torturing me with things. I have to stop talking now because I have to find things that I want because I'm so impressed. But again, we're back at, the new and beautiful altered stitch over here on Balboa Boulevard. And it's just amazing. And you should come on down. And you need to keep in mind, while the yarn crawl has been hugely busy from everything I can gather, this place is packed with goodies. You're not going to come in next week and say, oh, they emptied it out for the yarn crawl. The stock is fabulous, and believe me, there's more than enough to go around, so you don't need to wait for the yarn crawl to come back to our new and beautiful altered stitch.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we have come to the end of another episode of Cognitive. Please do not use this podcast to diagnose yourself. If you think you are having a mental health problem, please contact a licensed mental health professional. Show notes for these episodes can be found at cognitivepodcast, all one word, .blogspot.com. Episodes can be found at iTunes under the name Cognitive Podcast, but also can be found posted next to the show notes on the Blogspot page. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.